Hello again, Generation 1 Transformer fans. This is Sparkster1701. Hope you all have finally made it through the holidays with your sanity intact. To conclude out for our first year's run, I wanted to do somebody big. So I went with one of the biggest Autobot toys I could scare up, Sky Lynx. Sky Lynx is a lieutenant commander. He was released in 1986 and would be available in 1987. He would be discontinued in 1988, where strangely he would be replaced the following year in 1989 with the Pretender form of Grimlock. Don't know if that's a blessing or an insult for him. Sky Lynx here is a rather interesting and bizarre toy. He's also one of them that was not originally designed by Takara. Sky Lynx shares alongside fellow Autobot, if I can pick him up here off the floor. He shares a history with Omega Supreme here, in the fact that both of these toys were made by Tomy and were licensed to another company called Toy Box, who released their original forms. More often than not, you can find the original Omega Supreme toy on eBay. I have yet to see the original Sky Lynx, though, on eBay. So as such, these two guys were not released in Japan when they first came out as Transformers. However, when Takara later bought Tomy up, one of their investigators or whatever that was researching into Tomy found the patents and schematics that were used in the making of these two toys, and swiftly made sure that the deal would go through, and in some of the newer and more recent Legends Transformers have allowed these two to finally appear in the Japanese line for the first time. So, many applause to that. Now, Sky Lynx here also has something similar that he shares with Omega Supreme in the fact that he is a motorized toy. He is powered by a couple of AA batteries, and in this mode he would walk, or in his converted alternate mode, he would roll across the floor. I would demonstrate that for you, but mine does not work. That is a very common problem with both Omega Supreme and Sky Lynx, is finding a version that does still work after all these years. I myself have been through two Sky Lynx toys. This one is the most recent one, and both of them do not work. So, if you can find a working Sky Lynx toy, I would say you've got yourself a treasure there, my friend. Just one warning on keeping it. Make sure that if you're not going to play with him very often, take the batteries out. That should come as common sense, folks, but you know how it is. Alright, let's take a good look at Sky Lynx here. As I told you, he does have the articulation since the legs are motorized, so his legs and ankles do move a bit. Up here on the top of him, he does have several joints in his tail, so his tail can be moved here at the base. And there's also a couple of joints up here. Moving forward a little bit so I know you can see him. Up here at the tail. One right here near the end, and one exactly at the end. Sliding back a little bit. And he has some articulation in the neck. He can move down there at the base. Whoopsies. He's a little too anxious here. I know you think you're perfect, Sky Lynx. Don't test me. So also articulation at his head, just barely any, but it does also allow him to open his mouth. Because as we turn him to face, we'll show that in a moment when we separate him. Now, Sky Lynx, like fellow Autobot Ultra Magnus over here, has a separate secondary robot mode that is very seldom seen in a lot of the media. So we're going to show that here in just a second. Put the camera back on him. Thank you for your brief appearance, Ultra Magnus. And take your gun with you. We separate the two toys from each other. They just connect on here. There's 3 posts here on the back. We'll look at the upper portion in a moment. We'll just slide it out of the way. To finish converting the lower portion into its animal mode, we need to pull the tails out of the back. Pull them all the way out, lock them in place. Then up here at the front, just raise up this section here and rotate out the head. And this is the Lynx mode for Sky Lynx. As for additional articulation to it, you can raise that up a little bit, and that's about it. The head can be moved so it can look straight down or up to that point. Bring it up close so you can get a good look at it here. I love this gold chrome color around the head. That's a really nice detail and nice big Autobot insignia on there, but other than that, it's pretty plain. Hold it at this side and imagine it black, and it almost would resemble the Thundercats logo. Thundercats, ho! Sorry, had to do it. All in all, it's not too bad. I could have expected more, but for one as simple as Sky Lynx is, that's not really too bad. But for now, let's get the Lynx out of the way, and we'll bring the upper portion back in here. To get the upper portion finished, all we have to do is reach down beneath him and rotate down these legs and pivot out the feet. And there we have it, folks. What the instructions describe as a prehistoric bird. Seriously. Most of the media refers to this as his Dino Bird mode. Now, as I wanted to get up close here with you on it, we open his mouth, open your dentures up real wide here, Sky Lynx. And you can see in here, instead of a tongue, he has a laser cannon. And in case any of you are wondering, these teeth are not sharp, so you're not going to have your kids get cut on them or anything. Unless you seriously want to have some fun with them. Easy, boy. Easy. Easy. Let go of Daddy's finger. And of course, for additional articulation, the legs do shift up, as you probably imagine from the transformation. And he does have a joint at the ankles, so he does have a fair amount of articulation. You just can't move his wings, so if there's a downside to it, that would be it. All in all, not too bad of a toy, really. Now, to move on, we're going to shift him into his alternate mode. We'll start this time first with the Dino Bird, so get the Lynx out of the camera. Now, transforming the Dino Bird into the alternate mode does take a little bit of patience with all the joints that he has in him, so bear with me, folks, as we do it. We're going to start first by we take his feet and fold them upward against his legs. And then fold the legs up against his body. Like that. And next, I'm going to get him down here, close his mouth, keep him quiet for a little bit. And then we got to fold the neck into the body. This does take a little effort sometimes. I'm getting pretty lucky here getting him all folded in, just like that. Now his wings, to fold them in, you got to take the far edges and fold them into the full wing, and then you can push it inside the other wings, just like this. Show it here on the other side. Get my arm out of the shadows. Take the wingtip, fold it inward, and then fold that in. Now, for his tail, you got to wiggle that inside. Sometimes it takes a little more effort and a little force. Of course, line up the rear end in there. Now, before I close up the back side, I want to point out a variation. The boosters here on the end, this one gets pulled out and then turned to the side. Or in this case, you would turn it to the side and then push it in. This is the 1987 version, the later version. The original version of it would only open like that. It didn't pull out. So it was remodeled in 1987 to allow it to pull out a bit so it'd be easier to get his tail out. The instructions, which I'll show you here in a moment, show the original way that it's done. And then here you have the Dino Bird part in its alternate mode. It's a space shuttle. Of all the features that it has, unlike most of the other toy space shuttles in the Transformer line, Sky Lynx does have an opening cargo bay. Once again, he's got some gold chrome in here, which looks kind of nice. But we'll take a look at the full thing in just a moment here. Let's get the Lynx up here. And we ain't talking the old Atari handheld either. To get the Lynx into the alternate mode, first off we fold the head in and close the section down. Then we're going to go to his backside and wiggle his tails in. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. There we go. And next, for his feet, you will fold the ankles. Fold his feet up at the ankles and put it against his legs. Then you're going to take the legs and you will rotate them back by pushing these little red buttons beside them, so it releases the walking mechanism and allows them to move easier, and they just lock back into place when they're in position. You almost feel like you need a couple more hands for this, folks. And then there's its alternate mode. Basically, an added transport. And the shuttle just attaches onto those posts. And there is the complete alternate mode. Like I stated earlier, if the motorized function was still working on this thing, this would roll across your floor. It looks kind of silly. At least especially that lower portion there does look kind of silly, but when you think about it, in the Transformer cartoon, this basically allowed the other Autobots to ride along on their missions. So at least it did serve a purpose. Something else you have to watch for on loose samples of Sky Lynx is damage to these labels across the sides here. So there are some holes here. You can see this one right over here is somewhat dented in. Turn it around to the other side, and these don't look too bad over here. I did have one earlier where somebody had punched the holes all the way through. I don't know why somebody would do that. But then again, to each their own, I suppose. At this point, I would like to point out that in terms of loose accessories, Sky Lynx doesn't come with any. Sky Lynx would think he's perfect, so he would tell you, accessories? I don't need no stinking accessories. I'm perfect the way I am. And we'll leave you on that thought. And now we'll move right along, and we will take a look at the instructions for Sky Lynx. And as you can see here, they have the 2 robot modes, instead of him in the what is known as the super robot mode. I'm all opened up here. As you can see, that's the included stuff. That shows how to install the batteries on him. How to get the shuttle mounted on and going. And then now it starts with the prehistoric bird. And when we get to the back side, start walking Lynx. It shows how to shift him up into the Lynx. And then lastly here, showing how to merge them together into the super robot. And then how to put on all those stickers that he came with. Then we get here to the end where we show off, first of all, the authenticity heat rub sensor, which you saw was on Sky Lynx's shuttle mode. To make sure to remind you to clip your robot points, because there were some decent offers here in 1986. Like to get some of the original Transformer toys. And of course, Reflector, the camera, was available in 1986 as a mail away. And of course, how to read your tech specs. Pretty simple, pretty normal instructions. Moving aside, we're not going to go straight to the tech specs, because not too long ago, I was able to acquire this. Let's separate the camera from the tripod for a moment, make it easier to show you. We have the box for Sky Lynx. Check this out, my friends. Now, this would be one of the later issues of the box, one that would have come out in the summer of 1986, and would still have been available in 1987 due to the fact that it has this here on the side, the free glow-in-the-dark mini poster for Transformers the movie. And someday I will show you those posters, folks. I do have a complete set, and I'm just working out of time to show them off to you. I promise you, you will enjoy it. Or at the very least, find it something interesting. If you don't, then, well, you can at least admit you'll have less of your day to kill. Get over here and shows off the walking function, the added transformation. Underneath his name, it's a little hard to make out, but you can see it has the mentioning of that he requires 2 AA alkaline batteries, which, of course, were not included. Put this back on the tripod here. And of course, this box has seen some better days. I mean, up here on the top, we got upside down, of course, the full robot, the full shuttle mode, rolling across what looks like the moon, and the two robots, and the usual stuff. Both sides of the box, more or less, feature the same stuff. Just shows the complete robot and vehicle. And you kind of get the same artwork down here on the bottom, right side up. Before I turn it to the back side, I've got a better bonus to show all of you. Unlike with Axer that we had last week, brace yourselves, we've got the foam insert. Again, jettison the camera from the tripod and take a look. It's pretty minimalistic, especially when you consider that all it has is two giant robot bits, and that's it. But, as you can imagine, finding the styrofoam segments for any Transformer insert is a challenge. So, definitely, I want to send a shout out to my friend MJ for selling me this Transformer. Since she also got me the box and the insert. We'll set that aside so that we can get back to the box. So again, we'll detach to go free, go loose and free here. And what you can see right here is the 1986 mural. I've seen the comparative one for the Japanese line, and when I do an import month next year, I will show that to you. And I'm sure you might agree that it will look a little bit better. Over here on the side, besides getting a good look at one of my bookcases, you can see the basic changeovers. Does simultaneously the shuttle and the Lynx before merging them down there at the bottom as the whole Sky Lynx toy. Down here above the barcode, we have the official rules for the Decipher the Decepticon contest that would be going along with those posters that I mentioned earlier. And right there is his robot points. And as you can see, Sky Lynx was worth 6 points. We're going to mount this back on here, mount the camera back on, so that I can bring it closer, bring the box closer for the tech spec. As you've seen enough already, this picture's the same as the one on the front of the box. It's all done in red to indicate he's an Autobot. It even says it. It lists his name as Sky Lynx, and his function is Lieutenant Commander. So that makes Sky Lynx an officer in the Autobot Army. And his motto is, the best achievements are worth repeating. A powerful fighter, self-centered and boastful, fearless, daring, believes himself to be superior to many of his fellow Autobots. Shell-resistant and steel-reinforced hull can withstand enemy bombardment and extreme temperature variations. Possesses solar-powered auxiliary engines. Acetylene blaster inside cockpit shoots 3,000-degree flames. As space shuttle, has interplanetary travel capabilities. Maximum speed 30,000 miles per hour. Range 40 million miles. So Sky Lynx here can definitely go the distance. Now we'll lay the decoder here and take a look at his vitals. It gives his strength as 10. His intelligence is 8. His speed and endurance are 10. His rank is 9. His courage is 10. His firepower is 7. And his skill is 8. So there is some truth to Sky Lynx's bio there. And his arrogance does seem to be somewhat well-founded. Now we get down to, what do I think of him? Well, I like Sky Lynx. I mean, he's not as perfect as he wants to claim he is, and I don't want you to give me any opinions on that either. As a toy, Sky Lynx is a fun one. He would have been a good sized one to have even allowed some of the more younger children to have, as he doesn't have any loose pieces or anything that easily would break off of him, so he definitely would make an entertaining toy for some younger children. And with him being a flying Autobot, he did fill in a necessary void that the Autobots were sorely lacking in. And by being a lieutenant commander, that meant he was one of the more higher-ranking Autobots in the line, so he does have a lot going for him. The trouble boils down to his personality with it. He does get a little over-arrogant about his abilities, and that can sometimes cause many of the troops beneath him to resent him, thus causing leadership problems. It doesn't help that whenever there's a mission coming up, Sky Lynx here is quick to volunteer to be either the field commander in the mission or to be the transport for the mission. So his go-getter attitude, while probably appreciated by the other Autobots, can cause some problems. The only real downsides that I've had with this toy is, again, the motorized function. It breaks down too easily, and it's a similar problem that is found in many Omega Supreme toys. But other than that, if you can overlook that, and as an adult collector, I certainly can overlook that. He's not going to be played with at this age. He's more meant to be a part of my collection, and I'm not too worried if he doesn't walk anymore. He's fine just the way he is, and I'm sure he would thank me for that. Or get extremely modest and hide his head. And that concludes my review of the Autobot Lieutenant Commander Sky Lynx from 1986. If you like the video, thumbs up it on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button down below. Post a comment, share this video with your friends and fellow collectors, and keep this channel going. This is Sparkster1701 saying I want to thank all of my fans for supporting me this year, and look forward to the surprises and Transformers we got coming next year. I'll catch you all later.